Last spring, a used car lot in suburban Nashville quietly sold a 2004 Toyota 4Runner with 187,000 miles on it for $8,400. It was gone in 4 hours. The buyer, a paramedic who'd spent 3 weeks researching, didn't negotiate, didn't hesitate, and didn't lose a minute of sleep over the mileage, because she understood something that the average car buyer walking onto that same lot doesn't. Mileage on a Japanese engine built before 2010 is not the same conversation as mileage on almost anything else. The number on the odometer tells you how far the car has traveled. It tells you almost nothing about how far it has left to go. Right now, in the sub-$10,000 used car market, there's more genuine value hiding in plain sight than at almost any other price point in automotive history. Inflation has pushed new car payments past $700 a month for average buyers. Certified pre-owned inventory has dried up. And dealers have gotten very good at steering budget shoppers toward vehicles that look like deals but aren't. Meanwhile, the Japanese cars on this list, built by engineers who treated reliability not as a feature but as a design philosophy, are sitting on private driveways, third-party lots, and auction listings priced below what they're actually worth, because the buyers who know about them aren't talking loudly enough. After cross-referencing long-term reliability data, real-world owner reports spanning decades of ownership, and the kind of repair frequency analysis that dealership service departments quietly use to predict which cars come back and which ones don't, these 7 stand apart, not because they're flashy, because they're not. Number 7, the Toyota Corolla, 9th generation, specifically the 2003 through 2008 model years. This is the car that reliability researchers keep returning to, not because it surprises them, but because it doesn't. The 9th generation Corolla was built during a period when Toyota's engineering culture was at peak conservatism, a period where the guiding principle was removing failure points rather than adding complexity. The 1ZZFE and 2ZZGE 4-cylinder engines in these cars were derived from engine families that Toyota had spent over a decade refining, and both are well documented for their ability to accumulate mileage without requiring anything beyond consumable maintenance. At the $5,000 to $8,500 price range, clean examples of this generation Corolla with under 150,000 miles still surface regularly at private sales and smaller independent dealers who haven't figured out that the market underprices them. What you're looking for: consistent oil change records, no visible rust on the subframe or rear wheel wells in northern states, and a clean Carfax showing no flood or structural damage history. The 2006 and 2007 model years represent the sweet spot. By then, any minor early generation issues had been addressed through production updates, and the platform was in its most refined state. A high school teacher in Spokane bought a 2007 Corolla CE with 121,000 miles for $6,200 18 months ago. She has put 28,000 miles on it since and spent $340 total on maintenance. That math is difficult to argue with. Number 6, the Honda CR-V, 2nd generation, 2002 through 2006. Most buyers looking at compact SUVs under $10,000 get steered toward newer options with more features and less mechanical history. That's often the wrong direction. The 2nd generation CR-V runs Honda's K24A1 engine, a member of the K-Series engine family that Honda engineers built with such conservative tolerance specs and such robust lower-end architecture that the same basic block design was adapted for use in commercial and fleet applications requiring sustained high-cycle operation. Real-world longevity reports from owners who maintained these correctly are filled with mileage numbers above 220,000 and 250,000 with original engines still running on factory clearances. The 2nd-gen CR-V sits comfortably between $4,500 and $9,000 depending on trim, mileage, and geography, with the most underpriced examples typically found in warmer southern states where road salt hasn't touched the frame. The thing to inspect carefully is the rear differential fluid. These CR-Vs use a rear differential that requires Honda dual pump fluid specifically, and owners who substituted generic fluid often caused shuddering and accelerated wear in the rear drivetrain. A clean rear differential fluid history combined with timing chain integrity, this engine is chain-driven, which eliminates the timing belt replacement anxiety that plagues many competitors, makes a well-maintained 2nd-gen CR-V one of the most defensible purchases in this entire price bracket. An electrician from Baton Rouge bought a 2004 CR-V EX with 138,000 miles for $7,100. That car is now at 201,000 miles and has required 1 set of front brake pads, 2 sets of tires, and a $90 rear differential fluid service. Nothing else. Number 5, the Mazda 3, 1st generation, 2004 through 2009, and here's the model year split that matters. The 1st generation Mazda 3 is one of the most chronically undervalued Japanese cars on the used market. And the reason is almost entirely about perception. Mazda doesn't carry the same name recognition armor that Toyota and Honda do, which means buyers who don't do their research overlook it, and that keeps prices artificially suppressed. 3-liter 4-cylinder engine in the higher trim Mazda 3s is a derivative of the same family used in the Mazda Speed platform, built with tighter tolerances and better heat management than many comparable engines of that era. But here's the model. Year split you need to know: 2004 and 2005. First generation Mazda 3s had a specific issue with automatic transmission valve bodywear that surfaces around 90,000 to 110,000 miles in units, that weren't serviced with transmission fluid changes every 40,000 miles. The 2006 through 2009 model years received internal updates that largely resolved this. If you're buying a pre-2006 Mazda 3 with an automatic transmission, pull the service history and verify transmission fluid changes. If those records exist, the risk drops significantly. If they don't, either walk away or price that fluid service into your offer. Manual transmission versions of this generation are essentially immune to this concern and are among the most durable small car drivetrains sold in this market during that decade. Find a clean 2007 or 2008 Mazda 3 with manual transmission and documented oil changes, and you're looking at a car that can realistically deliver another 100,000 miles of reliable service for a purchase price between $5,500 and $8,800. A graphic designer in Austin has been driving a 2008 Mazda 3 5-door she bought for $6,400 at 104,000 miles. It's at 193,000 now. She describes the maintenance costs as embarrassingly cheap. Number 4, the Subaru Outback, second generation, 2000 through 2004, with one critical caveat. This is where the recommendation requires the most precision, because the second generation Outback splits into two very different ownership experiences, depending entirely on one factor: head gasket service history. The EJ25 boxer engine in these Outbacks has a well-documented head gasket susceptibility, specifically the external seat pattern that develops around 100,000 to 130,000 miles in units, that ran slightly low on coolant or were subjected to repeated cold starts in sub-zero temperatures without adequate warm-up time. This is not a flaw that disqualifies the car. It is a known service item, similar to how certain BMW cooling systems require proactive maintenance. Said except that Subaru head gasket service on a second-gen Outback typically costs between $1,200 and $1,800 at an independent shop, and once done correctly with updated MLS gaskets and properly resurfaced heads, these engines routinely continue to 250,000 miles without further issue. The buying strategy is direct. Find a second-gen Outback where the head gaskets have already been done, documented, and paid for by a previous owner. These cars sell in the $5,000 to $8,500 range, and a post-head gasket example represents one of the most capable all-weather, all-road platforms you can put under $10,000. A wildlife biologist in Montana uses a 2002 Outback, head gaskets replaced at 127,000 miles, now at 214,000, for field access roads, and that would challenge vehicles costing 4 times as much. Her total mechanical spend beyond the head gaskets over 5 years of ownership: 5, 1, and 10. Stop. Before number 3, here's a fast filter that applies to every car on this list, and every Japanese used car under $10,000 you'll ever consider. A used oil analysis costs $28 to $35 through a mail-in service. You take a small sample of the current engine oil, send it in, and within a week receive a full metals breakdown that tells you exactly what the engine's internal wear profile looks like, whether there's elevated copper from bearing wear, elevated iron from cylinder wall degradation, elevated aluminum from piston skirt wear, or silica contamination, suggesting an air filter failure. This analysis, more than any visual inspection or test drive, tells you what the engine has actually experienced. Sellers who refuse to allow an oil sample before purchase are telling you something important. Sellers who permit it have nothing to hide. Use this tool on every high mileage purchase. It has saved buyers thousands of dollars and revealed problems invisible to any other pre-purchase inspection method. Number 3, the Honda Accord, 6th generation, 1998 through 2002. Specifically the 4-cylinder variants. Fleet managers know about this car. Independent mechanics know about it. The buyers who show up at 7 a.m. on the day a clean example gets listed on Facebook Marketplace know about it. The broader used car market has not fully caught up, which is why clean 6th generation Honda Accords with the F23 4-cylinder engine still surface in the $4,500 to $7,500 range at mileages that, on any other platform, would make buyers nervous, but on this one are simply a number. The F23A1 and F23A4 engines in these Accords are among the simplest, most over-engineered 4-cylinders Honda ever put in a production car. The combustion chamber geometry, the cast iron cylinder liners, and the conservative valve timing setup combine to produce an engine that generates minimal heat stress and distributes wear so evenly across internal surfaces that bearing clearances on 200,000-mile examples frequently still measure within original factory specification when checked at during rebuilds. The single most important thing to look for on a 6th-gen Accord 4-cylinder, transmission fluid history on automatic versions, distributor condition on all versions. The distributors on these engines have an O-ring that can fail around 120,000 miles, allowing oil to contaminate the ignition system. It's a $180 fix. Buyers who didn't know about it sometimes paid $800 to $200 in misdiagnosed ignition work before someone caught the real cause. An operations manager from Charlotte bought a 2001 Accord EX 4-cylinder with 152,000 miles for $500 2 years ago. New distributor, fresh fluids, a set of tires. He uses it as his daily commuter. It has not missed a single day of work. Number 2, 4-liter, 4-cylinder. At this point in the list, pattern recognition kicks in. There is something consistent across every vehicle here, a philosophy of mechanical conservatism, of systems designed with so little ambition, toward complexity that there simply isn't much to go wrong. The 5th-generation Camry with the 2AZ FE 4-cylinder is the fullest expression of that philosophy in a mid-size sedan. This engine was designed for durability under commercial use conditions, refined through Toyota's internal validation testing that simulates the thermal cycling of 300,000 miles before a single. Production unit leaves the factory and installed in a vehicle that was specifically engineered to be the most reliable, most trouble-free car in its segment. The market reflects this. Clean 5th-gen Camry 4-cylinders are not cheap the way some other cars on this list are cheap. You'll pay between $7,000 and $10,000 for a well-maintained example with under 160,000 miles, and you will earn every dollar back in avoided repair costs over the next 5 to 7 years of ownership. There is one known issue worth mentioning on the 2AZ FE. Oil consumption in early units, specifically 2002 through 2004 production, can become elevated around 130,000 to 150,000 miles if the engine was run consistently low on oil at any point in its history. Verify the oil level hasn't been chronically low by checking the dipstick at purchase and asking the seller directly when they last added oil between changes. A logistics coordinator in Memphis bought a 2005 Camry LE 4-cylinder with 141,000 miles for $8,100. He is at 198,000 miles now. His description of the car in a public forum is 3 words: relentlessly, boringly reliable. That's exactly what you want. And now, number 1. The most undervalued Japanese car you can buy under $10,000 right now. Not the most talked about. Not the most recommended on mainstream automotive channels. The one that quietly accumulates loyal owners who tell almost no one about it because part of them wants to keep buying clean examples before the market figures it out. The Toyota Prius, 2nd generation, 2004 through 2009. Before you dismiss this, hear the engineering case. The 2nd generation Prius runs the 1NZ FXE engine paired with Toyota's hybrid synergy drive system. A powertrain architecture so mechanically conservative in its design that Toyota engineers built in redundancies that most buyers never encounter because the primary systems never fail. The combustion engine in a Prius cycles off completely whenever the car is at low speeds or stopped. That means a Prius with 180,000 miles on the odometer has a combustion engine that has experienced significantly fewer thermal cycles, fewer cold start tests, and far less total running time than a conventional 180,000-mile vehicle. The internal wear profile is different, meaningfully different. Taxi and rideshare fleets in cities like Chicago, Seattle, and New York have run 2nd-generation Priuses past 300,000 and 400,000 miles on original engines and original hybrid battery packs. And the battery pack, which most buyers fear, is the least of your concerns. Toyota engineered the NIMH pack in this generation to degrade gracefully, not fail catastrophically. Even a 2nd-gen Prius with a degraded pack typically still gets 38 to 44 miles per gallon and drives completely normally. It simply loses a few miles per gallon from peak efficiency. A replacement refurbished pack from a reputable supplier costs between $800 and $1,500 installed. For a car that costs $5,000 to $9,000 to buy and $35 to fill the gas tank, the economics are almost unfair. A social worker in Portland bought a 2007 Prius with 161,000 miles for $6,800. She spent $950 on a refurbished battery pack as a preemptive measure 18 months later. Since then, 41,000 additional miles. Total fuel costs over that period, $100. She has calculated that her cost per mile on this vehicle is lower than any car she has ever owned. She has told exactly 2 people about it. Here's the thread that connects every car on this list. None of them are exciting. None of them will generate envy in a parking lot. Not one of them was designed to impress anyone. They were designed, sometimes explicitly, sometimes as a byproduct of deeply conservative engineering culture, to start every morning, accelerate smoothly, stop reliably, and ask for nothing beyond what the owner's manual already told you it would need. In a market flooded with vehicles that are engineered to the edge of their tolerances to hit a price point or a performance benchmark, that kind of restraint ages extraordinarily well. The smart buyers in this market already know what's on this list. They show up early. They bring cash. They don't negotiate for long because they understand what they're looking at. The question isn't whether these cars represent value under $10,000. They do, by a significant margin. The question is whether you find one before someone else does. Start with the Corolla. If you're in a colder climate and want more capability, the Outback with documented head gasket work. If you want the single best cost per mile ownership proposition in this entire price range, find a clean second generation Prius and run the numbers yourself. They'll tell you everything you need to know.